Death is a concept that all understand. Even when we are young, we come to grips with the fact that we will fade one day and die. And how we cope with that is really up to us. I was very young when I learned this point. I saw a dead bird in my garden for the first time and felt this unimaginable sink in my heart. I realized that no matter what I achieve, no matter how strong I become, or how knowledgeable of magic I am, I can only prolong the inevitable. One day, it will end. All die eventually. There is a type of dragon that embodies this concept. It is as if they are death and decay itself. They are the reaper that will collect your soul. But a lot of people give the reaper a bad reputation. True, they come to collect your soul, but that's just their job. They didn't kill you, nor do they even hate you. Hell, they might even like you. These dragons have a similar bad reputation that I think is undeserved. And I'm referring to the Topaz dragons. Well, for most of them it is undeserved. See, the gemstone dragons are known for their neutrality in the war between chromatics and the metallics. But Topaz stands a bit out of line from this. See, they almost always pick a side, and that is the chromatics, for many reasons. But given the friends they tend to make, it leads to them being the more classic monstrous dragons of myth, which is why some of them are seen as, for lack of a better term, evil dragons. But in reality, they're just picking sides in a war. But it is still typical to find them more neutral, like other gemstones. I want to talk more about their alignment later. For now, I wish to talk about their death-like nature. See, they have a sort of aura of death. Plants around them tend to wither, wildlife fades, and people die more and more within their presence. This is a natural occurrence of their raw power. This is not something they control, just a natural effect of their presence. Like a constant effect they have on their region, but just follows them like an aura. It is not as wholly evil or horrid as it sounds. See, with death comes life, and they allow and embody this too. True, a tree might have died and hollowed out because of the dragon's wake. It slept near it one night, and because of it, the tree wilted, withered, and died. But not all was lost. Because of the tree's life, a family of squirrels moved in and started using the hollow base as a home, as well as some badgers started to burrow underneath the tree, building small tunnel networks. Many pods of fungus started to bloom within the roots there as well, and countless hides of insects now dwell at the very top of the tree. All of this was allowed by the dragon too. Life comes from death. In a way, it is a form of rebirth, but do keep in mind that no new plant life like the tree thrived. It is a change in the environment. They do live in a state of constant change because of this, and this fact also leads to one of the main reasons they have a history and rivalry with another type of dragon. See, Topaz dragons, in a way, are at war with bronze dragons. This is part of the reason that they side with chromatics more and more, too. Some might think this is just because they live close by, as Topaz dragons live near the water, either on coastlines with massive coral reefs or thick marshes within swamps that feed off of the death they give. But also because bronze dragons embody stability and normality, while Topaz dragons are change and the ebb and flow of life. They are opposites in a way, and this is the main reason they hate each other. They also live near a lot of black dragons, but do not hate them anywhere near as much, and they tend to not fight as often for domain. They can also align with them sometimes if the Topaz doesn't take too much of the swamp. It is rare, but such things have been known to happen, and many groups of dragons have formed a pact of sort, regardless of their type. But do not let all this talk of allegiances mislead you. They are not very fond of company at all, and prefer to dwell in death. They are loners at heart, and should they take packs, they almost always be the live and let live type of deals, non-aggression pack sort of things. But I should get to the topic of their hordes, as most people who wish to know of dragons would care for that sort of thing. So to start, they are very fond of precious metals like most dragons, with the exception of bronze, purely due to their rivalry with the associated dragon. And that is also the only reason. They just hate the sight of bronze. It makes them a bit sick to look at it, and reminds them of dragons. They might even comment on it if they see someone else with it. Gold is their favourite, and it almost matches their colour, and is very shiny as well as valuable. It's also a dragon classic, so it's not much of a surprise for everyone. But their true love is for that of gems. They have a special fondness for brightly coloured gems, especially yellow ones, the ones that might reflect the light. The most the better, as they adore colourful displays. They also have a strange love of glass because of this light too. You will find most of their lairs have glass mosaics akin to what churches have, purely for the shine that the light has upon their hordes, in order to form a kaleidoscope of colour, almost as if it's a temple in and of itself. They could spend all day within their lairs just gazing at the colourful displays they have made for themselves. And out of all gemstone dragons, they spend most of their time alone in their lairs and domain just relaxing. They very much live at their own speed, and I can't really judge them for that. The domains they keep are near water, coastlines, lakes, rivers, swamps, maybe even remote islands. But this all comes across as a little bit paradoxical for one main reason. See, they live near water, but hate swimming. To be exact, they hate the feeling of being wet once you're back on land. You know, that feeling when you're dripping. It's actually a little hard to describe. You know that feeling when you're about to have a bath, and at first you don't really want to get in, but once you're in, you don't really want to get out. It's a bit like that. They just don't want to be out or in it all the time, and out of all the semi-aquatic dragons, they are the ones that spend the least amount of time in the water. But they still do spend a lot of time in the water, and it's mostly because, actually it's almost only because, of their favourite food. They adore the taste of squid. The bigger the better. They spend most, if not all of the time underwater, hunting giant squids. But I would like to now mention the effects and powers they have on their domain. So, for a start, they share a lot in common with the other gemstone dragons. They're very uniform in this regard. They make the gems of their namesake, Topaz, start sprouting and growing within their lands in abundance. The clearest sign of their presence, really. And like most, their favourite food thrives within their lands, giant squids specifically. I'm sure smaller squids do as well, but it's a lot more common for people to notice, you know, the 5 times larger ones than normal that just sort of have their tentacles flow in the water. It's something we humans just tend to note. They can also use their psionic abilities to see through all of the water within their land. It is as if they were using the clairvoyance spell, but once again, it is not magic but psionics. Their effects are more or less the ones that they share with other gemstone dragons, but they do have another one in which is more in line with their death-like nature and is more unique to them. Heed me now, all those who are within the land of a Topaz dragon. No matter how tiring it will make you, press on. Do not rest within their lands, for if you do, you will actually become more tired over time when you're resting. They sap the very life out of you, and you will slowly fade and die. And it will be a slow, but still horrid effect. And if you're the type to not work with chromatics, you might very much come to blows with them. So I should definitely make you aware of how to fight them. So in short, I will start with their strengths. Like all gemstone dragons, they are capable of teleporting, and do so constantly, but as a surprise to, I should think, no one, they mostly deal with attacks and powers related to death. They are immune to both cold and necrotic, but it's the attacks you need to worry about. Their breath attack is that of death. It shoots a yellow burst of necrotic energy that saps both the life and the strength from those it hits, channeling out like a lightning bolt. But that's not all. They have another ability that drains the life from you, and that is their eyes. The gaze of their dark eyes can destroy anything, and it can do it quickly. If it kills you, you will turn little more than dust, wither away, and then blow out into the wind. They are very powerful by nature, and they are very much isolationists, to the point where their culture is almost non-existent when compared to other dragons, and for this reason they tend to adopt the culture of those around them, regardless of what type of being they are, dragons and humanoids alike. The tale I have of a Topaz dragon is rather more mundane than most of mine, and is probably the main reason I hold such a positive view of them for the most part. See, at one point I was at my lowest, wandering alone in my early days of adventuring after the death of one of my first adventuring parties. I only survived because another risked their life to save me, and they died in the process. I wandered down a river alone, set up a fire, but the rain snuffed it out, so I tried to sleep for the night. When I awoke, my campfire was relit, and a dragon was standing beside me. I was a bit startled, to the surprise of no one I should expect, and he told me he meant no harm, and just wanted some company rather than to be alone for once. Something that surprised me even more. We got to talking a little, more so just to pass the time. It was very boring at first, but eventually he asked me why I was alone. And I explained to him the death of my party, tears slightly covering my eyes, although the rain probably masked that, and sorrow in my heart. But he understood my pain and told me of his. See, he was once part of a group of dragons that formed a coalition of sorts, akin to how we humanoids do parties. But they were all killed by an ancient bronze dragon, and he knew it was coming for him next. Death followed him, as he put it, and it's more than the usual air that's around him. I felt a little sorry for him, but at the time, an ancient dragon was something I couldn't even dream of. But he told me not to worry, and that he had no fear of death. Death is an inevitability. It is a horrid thing, sure, but it is needed. For anything to change, there must be some form of negative. And unfortunately, death is just that. The negative that must be brought for the positive to take effect. Life eventually comes from death after all is said and done, and he was happy with that. He did have one request from me though. After he died, he wanted me to find his corpse and plant a willow tree over his grave. Years later, I learned of his demise by the hands of the same dragon, and so I did so. The willow tree still stands to this day, tall and proud, a reminder of this kind dragon that helped me in a dire moment. Ket was his name, and even though I only met him for a moment, in a way, he saved my life. Thank you for listening to my tales. I am the Ashspawn. Feel free to leave a like, comment, or subscribe. It would really mean a lot to me. But, till next we meet, fellow traveller. Have a good day.